Humility. Oftentimes, when we hear that word, we're like, I'm humble, but am I really? Am I really? Listen, listen, if somebody was to call somebody from my past, they would say, that girl got some issues with humility. So today, on the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, I want to talk about what is humility, what that could look like for you, and is a lack of humility hindering you? So, welcome back to another episode of the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, where we talk about all things you, me, and Jesus, because we are here living this life on earth, trying to figure it out as we go. And I wanted to just have an episode talking about humility because I I think I may struggle with humility. I think I was a much bigger struggle earlier in life. I think that there are these moments where I don't even know I'm not walking in humility. And so I wanted to kind of talk about that as it says in the Bible, how humility has impacted me positively and negatively, and some of the things that I'm trying to do to stay humble or whatever. So, one of the first things we always do is we go to Google and see what does Google have to say about humility. So I'm going to Google humility meaning. Here on Google, it says a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness. And then here's a sentence. He needs the humility to accept that their way is better. So that's initially what Google gave me. Now, I think something is going on with Google because normally Google would give me like the AI version of everything. But it looks like they're doing something differently here. So I'm going to type in Google humility in the Bible, and we're going to see what does the Bible say about humility. There it goes. There's the search. Okay, so it says in the Bible, humility is a virtue that is important for followers of Christ. It is defined as honoring God, which is seeking to bring glory to God and looking out for others' interests, fear of the Lord, recognizing the dangers of ignoring God's commands and living outside of God's created order, sacrificing for others, which is practicing humility regardless of wealth, economic status, or job title. Here are some Bible verses that are related to humility. Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. Proverbs 3:5-9. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. Two more. Proverbs 22:4. The reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life. Last one. James 4:10. Humble yourselves before the Lord and he will lift you up. So when I'm reading that, it says my interpretation of it is putting God before yourself. It is considering others before yourself. And as a business owner, it is practicing humility regardless of wealth, economic status, or job title. It means that no matter how much money you make, no matter what your title is or whatever, you are constantly like putting yourself, you're not necessarily saying everybody else is above you in terms of like the whole world's above you and you're beneath them. I'm not saying that. It's like you're not better than anybody else, right? That you're not the end all be all, that God is, right? And even in your circle of people, no matter what your job, relationship, your social economic status is, that none of that says that you are whatever. It's just, that's just maybe what you have or what you do, but that's it, right? And so when I was thinking about this episode, what is humility? I have a lot of different thoughts about humility. So, and I'll try to put it into like different buckets. When I think about being, let's just say we are pastors of a church. Obviously, we're over the people, right? Everybody looks up to us. We are basically running the show, in a sense. When I think about humility as a pastor, it means while I am the pastor, I value your input. I value your opinion. I value you as a person. I don't think that I'm better than you. I can't control you because just because I'm the pastor, we are here, right? I am the pastor, and even though you're my wife, that doesn't make you lower than me. It just means here is the gifting and talent and the calling that God has on my life, but my calling doesn't make me over you. In a sense, my calling doesn't make me better than you. My calling doesn't mean that I am prioritized over you. Um, when it looks like humility in a relationship, it means that I'm in this thing with you and we are on this journey together. I may have more experience at something than you are, but it doesn't mean that I know everything, right? Like for me, I've been married before. And let's just say I meet a man who hasn't been married. Just because I've been married doesn't mean I know everything about marriage. It means that I've had some experience, but together we can have our own experiences. I run my own business. Humility is when I make a mistake, going to my team members and saying, "Hey, I'm really sorry that I did this, this, and this. I shouldn't have this, this, and this." When I am making decisions, that I am considering me and I'm also considering them in that arena. And humility looks like to me as someone who's an influencer online that when I meet people in person, that I'm not thinking I am better than them, that if I get a privilege that they don't have because of influence, I'll give an example. If you go into an environment and everybody knows you, people are more likely to do things for you or give you things or you get access to things than other people. Humility in that environment says, "Thank you for what you're offering to me. And I may take what you're giving me, but I'm going to treat everybody else the same. I may not be able to invite you into the things that I'm being invited into because they're inviting me because of whatever reason, but I'm still going to be respectful and honoring and gracious and all that towards you." So when I think about me and how I used to struggle with humility, I think we all have moments in time where we're like, something is happening, someone or something is happening, and we want to assert ourselves. We want to be whatever. I've done that plenty of times. I have been in environments where I'll give you an example. I was invited to speak somewhere. And when I came in, I sat down, I got breakfast, and this guy is just talking to me. And he's talking about all of what he's doing, his social media numbers, his agency. He's just going on and on and on about himself. Now, at this time, I'm getting uncomfortable because I'm just like, wow, he's really talking a lot about himself. But humility in me in that moment said, don't tell the details of what you do. Don't go in detail about your business, your influence. Don't do any of that. Let him talk, engage with him, and let that be what that is. And then as the time went on and we all spoke during the panel, he realized that I was not really flexing. I was just listening to him. And humility to me was like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to share any of that while he's going on and on and on. When they start asking you questions during the panel, he will learn that. That happened to me again when I spoke. I was a moderator for a panel, and I had a moment in that when the person asked me to be a part of their event, and then they came back and asked me to moderate a panel of influencers, and I was like, I don't moderate. I get moderated. I didn't tell them that, but it's like normally I am one of the main speakers, and but this person was like, I want you to moderate it. And so I felt like I was being placed lower than the other people, just being honest. But I said to myself, Kenya, just be thankful that you're being asked and it's an opportunity for you. I said, okay. So then I told myself, while I'm moderating this, like, ask him questions, but you also show up in your authentic self, sharing what you could share. And I did just that. I made it mostly about them and I allowed myself to be seen as I spoke and taught as well. And of course, what ended up happening at the end is that, people were really appreciate what everybody said, respect what everybody said. And then they came to me and respected what I had to say. So it was like, bring myself down from where I think I am and be grateful for this opportunity. Other times when I've had moments is I was at a conference recently and nobody at the conference knew that I existed. Now, sometimes when I go to social media conferences, um, people will know of me or whatever because of TikTok. And at this event, nobody knew anything about me. And so when I wanted to do something, I wasn't invited. When I wanted to do something else, I was not invited. Here was all these different avenues where I was not invited. And honestly, I was having little moments where I was just like, man, I haven't felt that sense of being a nobody in a really long time. And I had to just allow myself to just be like, it's okay. Like, this is just not a space where you're the deal. And you've got to learn to be okay with that. And so I had to learn to be okay with it. Like, I didn't speak at the conference. I wasn't asked to speak at the conference. I was actually rejected from speaking at the conference. And so one of the girls I met at the conference was speaking. And so I got there to her session and I was like, do to her what you would want done to you. So I was filming, taking photos, all this stuff, helping her. And I had just met her. And of course, she was appreciative or whatever. But for me in that moment, it was like, you're not thinking about you. You're considering other people, you know? And so when I think about that and the kingdom of God, is it's like, you're not hurting yourself to help others, right? Like, I'm not going to go without food just to give to someone else, right? I'm not going to sit on the floor just to give somebody a seat who, like, for example, if I get to a conference, I've been in line for an hour, I sat down, I got a seat. I'm not going to give up my seat because this person was late and didn't want to come at the last minute and they just want to sit here. I'm not going to do that. However, if I'm in a room of people and I've got a great seat, no matter how long I was in line, if a mom with a kid comes, I'm getting up. If an older person comes, I'm getting up. If someone's with a wheelchair, whatever these things are, it's like, come on, get up. You know what I mean? For me, that is humility. It's not where you just fully abandon yourself for other people. It's not where you don't challenge other people. It's where you're not thinking so highly of yourself that you don't think about other people. I feel like that is not humility. But I think that at times as Christians, we have these moments where we feel like we should be and do and be available for the pastor, the pastor's wife, the pastor's kids, everybody, like forsake all things for other people. And it's like, we have to forsake all things for Jesus, not forsake all things for men. Forsake all things for Jesus. So if God wanted me to sell everything for him, yes. If God wanted me to whatever, his answer is yes. If I meet a man and he wants me to give up my business and give up all this stuff to be with him, not happening. Who are you? You know what I'm saying? Now, if God asked me to give up all that because he was bringing me this man, then that 100% would do that, right? If God is asking me to go and apologize to somebody, I will do that. There's been so many things where I'll give an example. My marriage ended because my ex-husband was unfaithful. And during the divorce proceedings, he was whatever was happening with him. And God told me, he said, he's resisting. I need you to fight this, but I need you to fight it a different way. And he said, I need you to write him a love letter. I was like, you're out of your mind. And he was like, write him a love letter. Bless him. And I said, fine. So I wrote him a love letter. I said, I forgive you at the beginning. And I didn't bring anything else up. And I just was like, I blessed him as much as I could. And the next day he had signed the papers. And so it was like, whoa, he was like, so when you're operating in humility, this happens. And then years later, he told me, you need to apologize to him. And I was like, I didn't do anything. He goes, actually, this is not about the divorce. This is about your behavior when you were with him. You had areas in your relationship with him that wasn't healthy, that wasn't godly. And that was quite humbling because it was years after I had gone to divorce. And so I sat down and wrote this 3-page letter and I sent it to a friend, sealed, and then that person gave it to him. And it was humbling to admit all of these faults, extremely humbling to admit all these faults. But the truth is, those were true. Those were things that I had done. Those were apologies that I needed to give to him. I needed to apologize to him, period. No matter what he has never done to me. And that was hard to do that, but I did, you know? And to me, that is humility. And I guarantee I'm going to have many more opportunities where I get an opportunity to be humble. You know, there was a time when there was someone on my team, I told them to do something and then I blamed them for something and I didn't even know I was doing it wrong. And then when they made it known to me that I actually had told them what to do, that, whatever, we were on a call and then in front of the whole team, I was just like, hey, I'm really sorry that ABC. I told you X, Y, and Z, and then I told you ABC, and like this caused an issue. And I feel like I owe you an apology because that wasn't your issue. And the person stopped me and I was like, no, this is what this looks like to have accountability. And I need to share with you that this is I did this, so on and so on and so on. And the person was very surprised, but it was humility to do that, And when I think about us and you is we get this great opportunity for growth, for maturity. We get this great opportunity to, I don't know, just work with God in all things and not put ourselves so low, but allow God to do the things with us, in us, and through us that He wants to do by us being yielded to Him and yielded to being humble. Again, I'm not telling you let everybody run over you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you get an opportunity to be like, God, what is happening here? What do you want to have happen here? What do you want me to do here in this situation? And then us doing that, us thinking about other people before we think about ourselves, not hurting ourselves to think about other people, but considering others before ourselves. Okay. So I'm curious, do you have any stories where you had to be humble, where you didn't want to be, but you had to be humble? I would love to hear it so we can connect on this together. If you have, please tell me here in the comments on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, come on YouTube. I would love to know any of your stories because clearly you're hearing all mine. All right. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please subscribe to the podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are slowly growing our community here, and I want to be a little bit more intentional by asking you to follow. Thanks for watching.